My name is Thiago. I was born in Rio de Janeiro, in a place many people call dangerous, dirty, even hopeless. But to me, it was home. I grew up in the heart of the favela. Every morning, I would wake up to the sound of roosters and radios playing samba, or funk. The streets were narrow, the houses stacked like colorful puzzle pieces on the hillside. My house was small, just 2 rooms for 5 people, but it was filled with love and the smell of my mother's cooking. My mother, Donna Clara, worked as a cleaner in the city. She left the house before sunrise and came back after dark. She was our rock. She never complained. Her hands were always tired, but her heart was full. My father, well, he wasn't always around. He was a good man deep down, but life had broken him in some ways. He worked on and off, sometimes disappearing for days. Sometimes he came back drunk. Sometimes he came back smiling. I never knew what version of him I would see, but still, I loved him. A boy always loves his father. I had 2 younger sisters, Lou and Marina. They were the light of our home. Even when the power went out, their laughter lit up our tiny apartment. We didn't have much, but we had each other. We made games from old cans and bottle caps. We raced down the alleyways. We celebrated birthdays with homemade cakes, and music played from a neighbor's radio. From the time I could walk, I kicked anything round like a ball, oranges, bottles, even old socks tied together. Football was more than a game. It was my escape. It was the only place where I felt truly free. When I played, I forgot about hunger, about fear, about the shouting from upstairs apartments, or the gunshots that echoed through the night. People say favelas are full of crime, drugs, gangs, and they're not wrong. Every week, someone from the neighborhood was taken by the streets. Some went to prison, some disappeared, some didn't make it to their 20th birthday. We saw too many funerals, too many mothers crying. But in all that darkness, I had one thing that kept me going. My dream. I wanted to become a footballer, a great one, not just to escape, but to bring hope to my family and my people. My first real ball was a gift from my uncle on my 7th birthday. It was old, the leather cracked, but to me, it was gold. I slept with that ball. I played every day, barefoot, on the dusty streets behind our building. Rain or sun, day or night, the ball never left my side. It was my best friend. When I turned 10, I met Coach Miguel. He ran a community football school, a little project supported by donations and kind hearts. The field was rough. The goals were made of metal poles and rope, but it was a sanctuary, a place of order in a world of chaos. I'll never forget the first day he saw me play. He called me aside after practice. "Thiago," he said, "you have magic in your feet. But football is not only feet, it's heart, discipline, mind." From that day, he became more than a coach. He became a second father. He taught me how to think, how to lead, how to lose with dignity, and win with humility. He taught me respect for the game, for others, and for myself. He believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. My training was not easy. I woke up early every morning and ran before breakfast. I practiced my ball control in the alley behind our home. I watched football matches on my neighbor's small television and studied the movements of my heroes. I copied their style, their speed, their intelligence. I juggled the ball for hours. I kicked it against walls. I trained even when it rained, even when I was tired. I trained because I knew that talent without hard work is nothing. Sometimes I had no money for new shoes. My old ones had holes and my feet hurt, but I kept going. I drank water from public fountains and ate simple food. My body was tired, but my spirit was strong. Life in the favela was never easy. Sometimes I trained with an empty stomach. Sometimes I played through pain, pain in my legs, in my heart. I saw friends fall into the wrong path. Some joined gangs. Others started selling drugs. They told me, "Come with us. You'll have money. You'll have respect." And they did, temporarily. But many didn't last. A bullet, a betrayal, a prison cell. I knew what that road looked like. But I had a different vision. Every time I stepped onto that field, I imagined stadiums, crowds, jerseys with my name. I promised my mother I would make it out, not just for me, but for her. She gave her life for us. I wanted to give her a new one. And then there was Sophia, the girl who believed in me before I believed in myself. She lived 2 streets over. She loved poetry, painted her dreams on walls, and always came to watch my matches. Her presence gave me courage. Her voice, always calm, reminded me of who I was. When I felt tired, she said, "Your dreams are worth the fight." When I doubted myself, she reminded me, "You are more than your past." We'd sit on the rooftop at night, looking at the stars over Rio. I told her, "One day I'll play in Maracanã, and you'll be there, front row." Years passed. I trained harder than ever. I played every tournament I could find. I carried our team through local championships. I was noticed by scouts. But still, it was not enough. Hundreds of boys like me dreamed the same dream, and most would never leave the favela. At 16, I got my first real trial, with a youth team connected to a professional club. I traveled by bus for 2 hours, wearing borrowed cleats. My legs were shaking, my hands were sweating. I looked at the sky and whispered, "Please, just give me a chance." That day I scored 2 goals and gave 2 assists. The coach looked at me and nodded. He didn't smile, but his eyes said everything. "You're in," he told me. From that moment, everything changed. I trained with the best. I learned discipline, tactics, recovery. I faced stronger, faster players, but I held on. I studied hard. I avoided distractions. I thought of my sisters, my mom, my friends who never made it. I carried them all on my back. When I turned 18, I signed my first professional contract. I cried in my mother's arms. She said, "Now you are free." But I knew. Freedom came with responsibility. I moved to a new city, joined a bigger team. The pressure was intense. The pace was faster. But I kept going. I played my first professional game in Maracanã. The stadium was alive. The crowd sang. The lights burned bright. And as I stepped onto the field, I saw Sophia in the front row, just like I had dreamed. That night, I scored. I pointed to the sky, then to my heart. I was no longer just a boy from the favela. I was a man who carried his community with every step. Years went by. I played in many countries. I wore the Brazil jersey. I met legends of the game. I saw snow for the first time. I flew on airplanes and stayed in beautiful hotels. But I never forgot the dust of my favela. I never forgot the boy who trained barefoot with holes in his shoes. When I was 32, I decided to retire. My body was strong, but I wanted to give something back. I returned to Rio and opened a football school for kids in the favela. I became a coach, like Miguel. I taught young players to believe in themselves. I gave them balls, shoes, and hope. I visit schools and tell my story. I speak on radio and television. I remind people where you start does not decide where you finish. Now I see young boys like I once was, running, kicking, dreaming. I see the future. I see light. Because greatness is not about money or fame. It's about rising when the world tells you to fall. It's about choosing the ball over the gun, the dream over the doubt, the future over fear. My name is Thiago. I was born in the favela. but I live on the field. And this is my story. If you believe in dreams like mine, share this story. Because someone, somewhere, is still playing barefoot, chasing the same hope. Obrigado.